Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. For those who don't know, my name's Grace.
My name's Eden.
And we are the founders of the anti-abortion platform Abortion, It's a Black and White Issue. But today we are joined by two very special guests, Hannah and Sydney, who are both members of Students for Life St Andrews, which is one of the many pro-life university societies now in the UK.
It's amazing because at the moment we're seeing a massive increase in student societies, lots of young people getting more involved with the movement. And before we hear about both of your experiences out on campus as pro-life students, do you mind just both introducing yourselves?
You're first.
Oh, am I first? Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm from Glasgow and I'm going into second year studying philosophy and French.
And I'm Sydney. I'm from Houston, all the way in the United States, and I will be a fourth year studying international relations and philosophy.
Well, and so what is it that has made both of you so passionately pro-life?
Okay, so I believe that life and our human rights start at conception and end at natural death. So I'm against euthanasia legalization as well as abortion, because I believe that any aspect of our law should not affirm that some lives are not worth living. And also euthanasia legalization, it would fundamentally change the relationship that doctors have with their patients, definitely for the worse. And abortion, it not only violates the human rights of the child, but it also leaves the mother really hurting, you know, emotionally, physically, and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So as for me, I started working at a pregnancy assistance center when I was in high school, and I quickly realized the importance of living out a consistent pro-life ethic, because I saw a lot of women go through great adversity to choose life, and got to see the positivity in that, and that ultimately abortion is not beneficial to mother or child. I've always been an advocate of women, and this is something that I think our society lies to women a lot about. So the more truth that we can bring to women, the easier we can make their lives, and the more we can respect human dignity from natural conception to its natural end, better, really. So I think fighting a lot of misinformation in our culture is really important for overall healthcare and just for our humanity, really.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you both also tell us a bit about your university society? When was it affiliated and what are its main aims?
So our society was affiliated officially in 2015, and our goal is to build a really strong pro-life ethic and pro-life voice in St Andrews. And we want to accomplish this through our three main focuses, which are education, service, and community. So in this next year specifically, we want to continue to have a series of talks, as well as expanding volunteering opportunities and social activities that integrate pro-life values into university life.
Wow. Oh, that sounds amazing. So obviously, like, being pro-life is still quite a controversial opinion to have for a lot of people. So how is your presence on campus being received by the other students at St Andrews?
So I think so far, from what we can tell, it's a mixed bag and apathetic, probably at best. We have enthusiastic responses. We've heard some negative reactions. But that being said, our current presence on campus is pretty small, and it's pretty exclusive to students who are already in religious organizations. So my intent for this year going forward, I'm our incoming president and Hannah is our incoming treasurer. So we've been working really hard to figure out what our next steps are, and we really do want to expand our presence on campus and our voice in the community. So with that, obviously, we do expect to maybe incur a little bit more of maybe pushback. I know you guys have seen some in Aberdeen, but part of our plan is to be making a concrete, positive change in the community. So that means providing women with financial resources who are already choosing to keep their children, you know, taking care of our most like at-risk communities. So that would be the elderly, expecting mothers, new mothers, the mentally and physically disabled. I would even include victims of sexual assault in that. That's a pro-life issue as well. So if we can be providing positive assistance to those people rather than just leading a crusade, you know, I think it can ultimately be something positive and open mindsets to a pro-life ethic. And when consistently done, I think you see an overall benefit to the community as a whole. So I know it's controversial, but whenever you're doing good for people and you're helping them make hard decisions easier, I think that's harder to be upset about. So we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. I think that you're right. Getting out in the community and actually showing people like you're actually pro-life rather than just saying it is so important. I know Grace and I stress this a lot, and we're going to keep stressing it throughout this series, but in 2018 there were only 8 pro-life university societies in the UK, and they're now over 14, which is amazing. Do you think there's been any shift with the younger generation becoming more bold or, you know, more active in the fight against abortion?
Yes. So ultimately, my answer is yes. I think our generation is a really big sign of hope as to what we can do. We've already made huge strides. I think our generation is much more open to different paths to parenthood, and judgment is almost frowned upon in our society, which makes more unorthodox methods of parenting more acceptable and more feasible. I think our laws are even changing to accommodate single parents. It's a new conversation that we're having. We're really paying attention to all different sorts of parenting rather than just like a very typical stereotype nuclear family structure. So that's beneficial. We also have a lot of scientific developments that are helping us out. I mean, we know so much about fetal development now, and also of women's healthcare. The more we know about women and the way our bodies work, the more we know that abortion is a really negative thing. So our science has really helped us, but I would say our main obstacle here, that in order to really, really make big changes in building a pro-life world, it's fear. And, you know, how do we actually really treat people in those circumstances? How do we talk about parenthood, but specifically, I would say especially motherhood, with our girlfriends or with our families, until women stop fearing the shame and the guilt or the difficulty that comes with an unexpected pregnancy, we're not going to be able to really make that final push forward. So definitely yes, but we have some major obstacles that we need to be aware of.
Definitely. And obviously, like, you two girls are doing absolutely amazing work. So what kinds of advice would you give to any other student or any other young person who is pro-life, but they're maybe a bit too afraid to express their opinion publicly?
So what I would say, the main thing when talking to your friends at university about different pro-life issues is always be ready to listen, because there's going to be legitimate concerns that they could raise with you and really difficult questions, but there are ways to respond respectfully and lovingly without compromising on the truth. And I think there's also situations where people aren't really open to listening to the pro-life case, and they just kind of like want to upset you. So I think there's wisdom in knowing the difference of when you should speak up and when it's really, I suppose, not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Hannah said is fantastic. You really do have to be able to discern what people are really looking for from you. I think a lot of people also feel like in order to actually do something for the pro-life cause, you have to be an activist. You have to be marching, you have to be posting. And while there is great benefit to those sorts of things, you don't have to do that to make those concrete changes that I've been pushing for. Again, you can start really small. There are a lot of people around you who are struggling with pro-life concerns and considerations. I mean, like I said, my groups that I would consider at risk in terms of pro-life causes span all age ranges. They're everywhere in our community, and there are so many ways we can help. So I would ask, you know, how are you talking, again, about motherhood and fatherhood, parenthood in general? Are we seeing this as a positive thing? Do we treat children as something that are positive additions to our lives or an inhibition to our ambitions? I mean, I don't want to have to choose. I don't think women should have to choose, and we need to be talking about being able to manage both. You know, how are you taking time to care for the elderly or the mentally disabled in your community? That just means giving them the time of day. And, you know, how do we treat the pregnant student on campus who has been isolated by a friend group? These are really real considerations. And, you know, we need to be encouraging and supportive, because that's what people who are struggling with tough decisions need, is to know that we're behind them and we're going to be there whenever things get tough. That's why community is such an important part of what we want to do moving forward. So, you know, you don't have to be coming out of the closet and going around town saying, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life, because I know the environment can feel really hostile. But, you know, just like being a friend to the pregnant student in your class, or saying, you know what, actually, I think motherhood is a great thing, like congratulations, or talking to those, maybe, I know for us in St. Andrews, we have an older community. There are so many ways in which we can engage with people in our society to show them they have value, without having to necessarily raise an alarm. So there are so many ways to start small, I think.
Yeah, well, I think personally that's what's so fantastic about the pro-life movement, that it is kind of so diverse. So there are so many different areas that you can get involved in, and everyone can do different things and just do their bit when and where they can. So that's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I was having a conversation about this with someone the other day, and we was just speaking about the differences of approach, and she was like, oh, you know, you're always out there in the front lines being very loud, very vocal, whereas people like me are much more comfortable doing the behind the scenes work, and both are so incredibly important. And I don't think it's stressed enough how important diversity in this movement really is. So thank you both for that advice. It was really, really good. Definitely will help a lot of people out there who don't really want to take the loud and, you know, loud approach.
Both are great.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes. So the final question, and our personal favorite, is both of you, who is/are your pro-life heroes?
So I would definitely say Lila Rose, who is the founder of Live Action. She's like incredible.
I think right now I'm really loving Destiny Herman De La Rosa. I hope her name is correct. She's the leader of New Wave Feminists. So she is really supporting the idea that, or showing that you don't have to have a religious ideology in order to understand that this is a really serious issue and stand up for it. And I would also choose Edith Stein. She was a Catholic nun and philosopher who really studied what it was like to be a woman and showed that they have value in all areas of their lives. So that includes the workplace and motherhood. So it's fabulous.
Amazing, yeah, all three of them, they're amazing women, so really good answers. So I would say I think that's a wrap. That's all the questions. So thank you so much for your time and speaking to us. And thank you everyone for joining and watching. And I would suggest that you go and check out Students for Life St Andrews on social media, so you can keep up to date with their events and news, and definitely
what they're doing. Yes, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.